So, India, yes, India. The land of vibrant colors, spicier than your average food, and call centers that know more about your malfunctioning toaster than you do. Now picture this. India, not just as a massive country with a billion, that's billion with a B, people, but as a global superpower. It's a thought, isn't it? A rather large, elephant-sized thought, possibly wearing a turban and riding a rocket. The sheer possibility is enough to make your head spin, or at least make you reach for a strong cup of chai. We're talking about a nation with ancient roots, suddenly deciding to sprout very modern, very powerful branches across the globe. It's less of a gentle bloom and more of a surprise, I'm a baobab tree now kind of situation really. Imagine the headlines, if you will. India leads Global Tech Summit, Indian Navy patrols new international waters, Bollywood film wins Best Picture at the Oscars. Again, it sounds like a slightly over-enthusiastic movie script, doesn't it? But hold on, because stranger things have happened. Remember when everyone thought skinny jeans were a good idea? Exactly. The journey from a nation grappling with its post-colonial identity to a potential kingmaker on the world stage is a narrative so grand, so audacious, it almost demands our attention. It's the ultimate underdog story if the underdog was, a seventh of the world's population. This isn't just about waving a bigger flag or having a shinier seat at the international table, though those things are probably on the wish list too. It's about a fundamental shift in global dynamics. Think about it. A democratic superpower, with all its inherent messiness and glorious chaos taking a leading role. It's like your eccentric but brilliant uncle suddenly being put in charge of the family finances. Terrifying? Maybe a little? Exciting? Absolutely. The world has gotten used to a certain kind of superpower, a certain flavor if you will. India becoming one would be like adding a whole new spice rack to the global kitchen. And let's be clear, this isn't some far-fetched fantasy cooked up after too much biryani. The ingredients are there, simmering away, a young, restless population, a booming tech sector, a democratic framework that, despite its creaks and groans, somehow endures. The question isn't just India can become a superpower, but what kind of superpower it would choose to be. And more importantly, what that would mean for the rest of us. Because when a country this size makes a big move, it's not just a ripple, it's a potential tsunami of change, for better or well, let's hope for better. Alright, let's talk about what India is bringing to this superpower party. First up, people. So many people. And not just any people, but young people. We're talking about a demographic dividend so massive, it makes other countries look like they're populated exclusively by retired librarians. This isn't just a statistic, it's an engine. A vast pool of potential workers, innovators, consumers, and yes, people who will inevitably argue about cricket. This youthful energy, if channeled correctly, and that's a big if, mind you, could power India's ascent like an army of Duracell bunnies on a mission. It's a human wave ready to build, create, and probably invent a new app for ordering chai. Then there's the tech thing. Oh boy, the tech thing. Bangalore, Hyderabad, Gurugram. These aren't just cities, they're like Silicon Valley's slightly more chaotic, definitely more colorful cousins. India's IT prowess is legendary. They practically invented the concept of remote problem solving. Have you tried turning it off and on again? That's not just tech support, it's a national motto. This digital skill, this army of coders and engineers, is a massive advantage in a world where data is the new oil, and algorithms are the new kings. They're already the world's back office. The ambition now is to be the entire office building, and maybe the penthouse suite too. And amidst all this, there's democracy. Yes, it's loud, yes, it's often bewildering. It can feel like watching 100 different television channels at once, all at full volume. But it's there. A functioning, albeit sometimes sputtering, democratic system in a country of this scale is nothing short of a modern miracle. This provides a certain level of stability, a framework for debate and dissent, which is more than you can say for some other aspiring global players who prefer their public discourse a little more scripted. This commitment, however flawed, to democratic ideals is a significant soft power asset, making it a more palatable partner for many. Finally, let's not forget the cultural firepower. Bollywood, people. The music, the dance, the sheer unadulterated melodrama that can make grown men weep. Yoga, which has stretched its way into every corner of the globe. The food, oh the glorious food that has conquered taste buds worldwide. This soft power is incredibly potent. It's the art of winning hearts and minds without firing a single, non-metaphorical shot. If India can leverage this cultural magnetism alongside its economic and technological growth, it's a seriously compelling package. The world already loves its curries. Imagine if it loved its foreign policy just as much. So, if India actually pulls this off, what does a superpower Bharat, as it's sometimes called, look like? Economically, we're talking about a behemoth. Imagine an economy not just worth trillions but shaping global trade, investment, and financial systems. This isn't just about more Indian billionaires buying fancy London flats, though there'd probably be a bit of that too. It's about Indian companies becoming household names worldwide, Indian innovations driving global industries, and the Indian rupee potentially giving the dollar a run for its money. The sheer scale of consumption and production would reshape global supply chains, making Made in India as ubiquitous as Made in China once was. It's a whole new economic gravity well. Then there's the military angle. You can't really be a superpower without some serious muscle, can you? We'd likely see a significant expansion and modernization of India's armed forces. More aircraft carriers patrolling the Indian Ocean perhaps? A more assertive stance on regional security issues? Absolutely. This would inevitably change the strategic calculus for countries near and far. The balance of power in Asia would undergo a seismic shift, and global security forums would have a very vocal, very influential new player at the table. It's one thing to be the world's largest democracy, it's another to be the world's largest democracy with a very big stick. Culturally, the Bharat effect could be even more profound, albeit subtler. Imagine Indian philosophies on sustainability, community, and mindfulness gaining even wider global traction. Perhaps Jugaad, that uniquely Indian concept of frugal innovation and making things work against the odds, becomes a celebrated global problem-solving technique. Bollywood's influence would undoubtedly explode, with Indian stories, aesthetics, and music becoming even more mainstream. The global entertainment landscape would get a serious dose of masala. It's not just about exporting films, it's about exporting a worldview, one that is incredibly diverse and complex. And what about global technology and politics? An Indian superpower would likely champion a new, perhaps more equitable world order. It might push for reforms in institutions like the UN Security Council, where it has long sought a permanent seat. In technology, India could become a standard setter, particularly in areas like digital public infrastructure and AI ethics, advocating for a more human-centric approach. The existing powers would have to make space and listen to a voice that speaks for a significant portion of humanity, a voice that has, for too long, been on the periphery of global decision-making. It's a tectonic shift, plain and simple. Now, before we all start learning Hindi and investing in Indian stock markets, let's address the rather large, lumbering elephant in the room, or perhaps several elephants. Challenges, big ones. First and foremost, poverty. You can't be a gleaming global superpower if hundreds of millions of your own citizens are still struggling for basic necessities like clean water, decent sanitation, and 2 square meals a day. It's not just a moral imperative, it's an economic drag. Uplifting this vast population is mission critical. Otherwise, it's like trying to win a Formula One race while towing a very large, very heavy caravan. It just won't work. Then there's infrastructure. Oh, the Indian infrastructure. Roads that sometimes resemble lunar landscapes, power grids that occasionally take unscheduled holidays, and public transport that can be an adventure. To be a true economic powerhouse, goods and people need to move efficiently. Data needs to flow seamlessly. This requires colossal investment, and a Herculean effort to build modern highways, high-speed rail, reliable energy, and digital networks that can cope with a billion aspirations. Without this backbone, the superpower dream remains just that, a dream, possibly stuck in a massive traffic jam somewhere outside Delhi. And let's not forget the legendary Indian bureaucracy, the red tape, the endless forms, the come back tomorrow culture. It can be an absolute nightmare, a soul-crushing labyrinth that stifles innovation and slows progress to a crawl. Streamlining this, making governance more efficient, transparent, and responsive, is perhaps one of the toughest nuts to crack. It requires a cultural shift within the government itself. If India wants to compete on the global stage, it needs to cut through this bureaucratic jungle with a very sharp, very determined machete, or perhaps a well-aimed metaphorical rocket launcher. But if, and it's a significant if, India can navigate these monumental challenges, the implications for the world are astounding. We'd see a genuinely multipolar world with a new, democratic heavyweight influencing global norms, trade, and security. Imagine a world where solutions to global problems like climate change or pandemics are driven not just by the West, but by a confident, capable India, bringing its unique perspectives and yes, its Jugaad spirit to the table. It would be a noisier, more complex, but potentially more balanced and representative global order. The world's playlist would get an exhilarating new track, and frankly, it might just be the chart topper we've all been waiting for.